Hey there, welcome to the channel. Today's project is floor sanding. So if you've been watching the channel, last video, we actually installed the hardwood floor in our kitchen, engineered hardwood. Today it's time to sand it with that thing. Never used one of those before, so I guess we're gonna see what's gonna happen. Rented that from Menards locally here. I have a sheet of plywood over here. I'm gonna get it fired up and run it here in the garage a second, just to kind of get a feel for it, watch a bunch of YouTube videos. So we'll see how hard it actually is to use. So let me get that fired up and we'll take it for a test spin in a second. Okay, well that seems to be working pretty good, so let me explain what I'm doing a little bit. Basically this is a orbital floor sander, and a couple little hints, or tips I guess. I did a lot of research and there's not a lot of information online about finishing a new floor. So I've kind of deducted kind of like what I feel like the best method, and I actually called a local flooring supplier and kind of asked them what they recommend. So this is kind of what they recommended. He said, start with a 60 to 80 grit sandpaper. That's kind of dependent on how much lippage you have between your different boards. So if there's like a little bit of a variance between the different board heights, kind of reflects that. If you have a lot of gap, you need to have a higher or lower grit, I guess, more aggressive. Whereas mine are pretty close, so I started out with the 80. I didn't want to be overly aggressive, so we're gonna start with the 80. I'm gonna do a pass on everything, and then I'm gonna jump to a 120 and do a pass on everything, and that should be enough for my water-based finish. He said if you use an oil-based finish, you can get about a little bit less, go with like a 100 as your top end. So yeah, we'll see. But I'm gonna go with a 120. What I'm doing now, I'm just kind of going all the way down and then all the way back on the same pass, moving over, I don't know, half a board length width. So these are 7.5 inches, so 3 or 4 inches. And doing the same thing again. That seems to be leveling out pretty good, pretty smooth over there. So I think we're gonna be good to rock and roll. So I'm gonna keep going, let the camera roll, and we'll get this whole thing sanded and see how it turns out. That behind me right there is a sanded floor. I ended up doing 2 coats, 2 passes, one at 80 grit, one at 120. The 80 was maybe not quite aggressive enough. There's a few spots, kind of like at the end here, where there's a little bit of lippage. But given this is just engineered hardwood floor, only has 4 millimeters of a top layer, I didn't want to be too aggressive, so I think that'll work just fine. So it's all sanded, ready to go, vacuumed. Stacy is just now gonna mop it up here to make sure we get all of the last little dust off, and then we're going to put a sealer on. So I'm gonna put a sanding sealer on, Bona Natural sealer, I think is what we got. So I'm gonna do that and let it sit overnight, and then we will polish it or buff it or sand it or whatever you wanna call it, with a 220, do the finish. So that's what's next. So day 2 of the finishing process. Last night we finished this first layer of sealer. Today we are going to sand it down with some 220, kind of just buff it out because the grain actually, I was really surprised. The grain actually pulled up quite a bit here. You clearly can't see that, but it's quite rough compared to how it was when we first sanded it. So gonna get that sanded down a little bit. The sealer, first time ever doing it, it went okay. For the most part, it went pretty good. We kind of got stuck in the living room over there up against the wall. We couldn't really get back. So I had to like walk across the sealer and kind of wipe it behind me. So it worked out. I don't think it left any footprints. But there is a spot right here where I kind of had like a funny like swoosh and didn't get that cleaned out. And you can totally still see that in the sealer. So I'm hoping that buffs out good and that the next layer doesn't show that. And then also where we kind of had to overlap it, you can kind of see a little bit because we couldn't do the whole room. So hopefully the sealer is not super crucial and that we can learn from our mistakes and do the finish a little bit better. So that's game plan. Gonna get this sander out here a second and get this whole thing buffed up. I also want to get this done quick because I gotta pay $2 for every hour I gotta have this buffer or this machine. So I want to get this finished up and bring it back quick. So time to start sanding. Floor is prepped and ready to go for the finisher. We have a Bona Traffic Natural for our finish today. Never used this today before. Well, I guess I've never finished any floor, so that's not really saying a whole lot, but it's a 2-part mix. It is the finisher and then it is a hardener. So gonna get this mixed up and see if we apply it. Pretty much the same application as with the sealer. So get it mixed up and we'll give this a try. Okay, so first coat is on. Hopefully it turned out okay. We kind of screwed up. We were supposed to use like a jug and a half to a jug and 3/4 of the finish. There's still a little bit left in the first one. So I think it specifically says on here, do not install too thin. Be sure you are using the recommended coverage of 350 to 400 square foot per gallon. Do not spread too thin. Oops. Hopefully it works out better and we will put the second coat on thicker, hopefully. Okay, so a couple lessons learned on the finishing of hardwood floors. One, follow the instructions on the box. Basically, we got a bunch of dust on the floor, kind of like where I'm standing somehow. Not really sure how that happened. Didn't vacuum good enough, I guess. So we left a little bit of roughness there. So I sand that down after the first one. And then also, listen to how the temperatures that it says you're supposed to have when you're finishing the floor. Because over here in the corner, see, I just put these doors in the other day, these outside doors, and then this here didn't have foam all the way in it, so there's a big old gap here. And the floor right here did not dry in time. So that was kind of a bummer. So we had to wait a little bit to actually finish the floor, but I think it's all dry now. It's a little rough. I'm gonna sand down a little bit over here, but it's all dry now, so we can go ahead and put that final coat on. We need to sand it. We need to vacuum it really good and then wipe it down really good because dust is not our friend. Check out this floor, isn't it fantastic? It's so nice to have a finished floor in this house again. And this one turned out about as good as we could have hoped it to turn out. A couple things we kind of learned. Sanding takes way longer than you think it should, but by far the most important step. And sanding sealer is pretty darn important. There's a few spots here or there throughout the floor that you can kind of see that we didn't do the greatest job of spreading that thing on smoothly, and that there's kind of like some lines and stuff. But for the most part, it looks fantastic and we couldn't actually ask for anything better. So hopefully it stands up to the durability now going forward, but we would definitely recommend using the Bona Natural floor finishing. The system was actually really easy. Just a few little techniques and stuff that you kind of pick up as you do it to help you reduce some of those streaks and those marks and just working your way through the room properly. But in terms of the actual product, it worked fantastic. Hopefully it's super durable. It's gonna work good for us for a long term, but that's it. Thank you for watching it. Definitely appreciate you checking out this video. If you have any questions about finishing your hardwood floor, I'd be happy to help you out. I am no expert, but I will happy to share what I've learned along the way, and hopefully that can help you avoid some of the mistakes we made as well. So thanks for watching. Subscribe if you like the channel. If you didn't, well then I guess I'll see you later. I hope you enjoy the channel and the videos. Thanks.